put it on our website for them. And I have several screens set up here, so I apologize if I'm looking over the place. I'm presenting from my iPad because it looks better with the slides on in the video here, and then I've got the chat and everything else on my screen in front of me. So bear with me. But today I'm gonna get started just in the interest of time. I wanted to share with you this tool called Edpuzzle. It's really a great tool for this scenario, but it's one that I really took advantage of even when I was teaching under normal conditions. What's really nice about it is it allows you to flip some of your content. In this case, we're kind of flipping most of our content, but the way I used this in the classroom was I would introduce kind of more complex topics that students usually needed a little more time to work through at their own pace, added some interactive questions over it, allowed them to work through at their own pace. Then they came to class ready to kind of practice and engage in the room. So I was able to sort of like, I did it specifically with grammar instruction, and I'll talk more about that later. But I took this kind of complex topic out of my in-class instruction, let students work with it on their own, and then was able to focus on putting it to use during our time together. That was one way I did that when we were teaching in person, but I think this will be handy given our circumstances now. So this is kind of an introduction to Edpuzzle, and I just wanted to kind of go over what I hope we'll be able to look at today. By the end of this, hopefully you'll just know how to get on and feel comfortable navigating. You'll learn how to explore content that is available from within Edpuzzle, and we'll talk a little bit about creating your own content as well. And I'm going to do my best to provide a view from both perspectives, student and teacher, so you can kind of get a sense of what it's like on both ends. And we'll talk a little bit about how to set up your classes and how to get everybody on there. So again, please feel free to throw questions in the chat, interrupt me, turn on your mic. Otherwise, I have a slide for questions at the end as well. All right, so let's kind of get started here. There are a few things that I'll do live. Others I have screenshots in the slideshow. If you want to open up the slideshow on your own, this bit.ly at the bottom here, it is case sensitive. That'll take you to the slideshow. So again, kind of why I think this is a useful tool is that it allows for students not only to work through content at their own pace, but it kind of holds them accountable a little bit, partially because you can track their progress through this tool, their progress with the video and their performance on the questions you've embedded. But it also kind of requires more attention, makes the assigning of a video potentially a little more meaningful than just posting it and hoping they get something out of it. It's kind of a way to ensure that happens. Or if it doesn't happen, then you know where to follow up. So if you haven't done so, Edpuzzle does have a free version. If you go to, and you're welcome to do this while I'm kind of going through stuff, if you go to edpuzzle.com, click sign up, it'll give you the option to select I'm a teacher, and then you could just sign in with your Google account. They just sent me a referral code that basically just gives both of us 3 extra free videos on the free plan, because the free accounts are limited to 20 videos that you can have on there. So by using that code, it'll make it 23. You'll get your own code. You could share it and get more free videos. So just an easy way to boost that number. But I thought the 20 was pretty generous as a free option. So again, you would go on there, sign up. I'm a teacher, sign in with Google, and it'll get you going with your account. And let me know if I'm going too fast or too slow. And there's a couple ways you can set up your class on here. If for elementary specifically that is using Google Classroom, that's a particularly easy way to do this, because you can sync with your Google Classroom class. It'll auto roster it, and you can assign videos to your students to Google Classroom from Edpuzzle. So that's really handy as for those using Classroom. You can post your videos to Schoology as well and link to them and create a class in here and everything. It's not quite as tightly integrated. So if you are not using the Google Classroom syncing option, they basically give you two ways you can set up a class inside Edpuzzle. One is called Classic Mode, and that does require students to sign in. They can sign in with their Google account. It's not terribly complicated. The benefits there are that you don't have to worry about students making nicknames. It kind of uses their Google ID for that, so you know who they are confidently. It also allows you to track their progress across videos, so it sort of it links everything to their account. In the other mode, students don't have to log in, so they don't have to create an account or anything like that. You would just give them a code, and they enter a nickname and can join your class just through a nickname. You could track their progress on individual videos, but not across videos. And if they sign on a second time with a different nickname, you wouldn't really know who's who. So I would probably recommend, if you're elementary, using the Google Classroom feature. If you're secondary, using the Classic Mode. That just requires those couple extra clicks to get them signed in with Google so that you can actually see who's there. Any questions so far? Cool. All right. If you did want to see what the open class view looks like, it's not terribly different at the end of the day, like once you get in from the classic view, but this is what it looks like if you were to join the open class and be prompted for a nickname. So you could really put anything in there. So if you were to just type your first name, for example, then you would see a sample video that I assigned to this open class. And again, that classic view just authenticates the kids and truly links it to them. So there's the potential for some squirreliness if kids are coming up with their own nicknames. And if you intend on using this a fair amount, it ends up, it just ends up being nicer to be able to kind of see where they're at across your different content. So that's one way to see it from the student perspective there. So where this really gets interesting is when you start actually getting some content on there. And there's a few ways you can do this. I will show a couple of screenshots and then I'll switch over to a live view here. They have curated a bunch of content by grade level and content area under their curriculum tab, which is handy. So you can go to curriculum, then go to like third grade science and find stuff that is relevant that others have indicated as being appropriate. You'll obviously want to vet everything. You can also choose a popular channel as they're listed, which includes stuff that's already on Edpuzzle. Really any YouTube video you could bring in from here, stuff from Khan Academy, TED Talks, and so on. So you can kind of find a video and then add that level of interactivity over that video content. And I'll show you too how you can tap into content that others have already created. So you don't always have to reinvent the wheel, which is nice. If you're familiar with something like Kahoot, where you can browse a directory of other content that's been created by teachers, this has a similar feature, which is really awesome. Or you can make your own content. So when I sent out that initial email about this, I had taken a video that I made. At the time, I was making my own videos because I wanted this sort of flipped version of my content to kind of match how I would tend to explain things in class. It's just sometimes different people have different language or different ways of organizing things or structuring things. Some of it's preference, some of it's not. But you can make your own videos. You could do a video on, in WeVideo, a screencast, go over a lesson. And then you do want to get it on YouTube, so you could then bring that YouTube link into Edpuzzle. So it's a couple of extra steps. Wherever you record it, get it onto your YouTube channel, then bring it into Edpuzzle. But you can just film your own lesson and then add questions, which pauses students at different points, makes them reflect on things as they're going through that video. So you can tap into existing stuff, either a video that doesn't have questions added or videos that do, or you can make your own and add questions. Let me show you a little bit more about that, just kind of in a live view here. It might make a little more sense. Okay, can everybody see my Edpuzzle screen here? Great, thank you. So this is the homepage once I'm signed in. They feature content as most services like this would. Where I really think the power is with the stuff on the left-hand side. So here's that curriculum option I was telling you about. It's not comprehensive, doesn't cover everything, won't have everything you're looking for, but there is stuff here to start with. If I go to YouTube, there are videos here. I can search like I would normally. I noticed, and I'm not totally sure why, some YouTube content that I know is on YouTube wasn't coming up from searching here. So what you can do is just go to YouTube in another tab and paste the YouTube website address into the search box, and it'll bring it in. So just a little tip there. Here are videos from people at my school or at El Dorado. Right now, it's just stuff that I've been playing with, but I can see that there are 7 other teachers who have created accounts here, which is cool. And here, I was mentioning that you can tap into content that other teachers have created. This kind of blew my mind. So I had made these videos years ago for my Spanish classes, but when I clicked into one on here the other day, I saw that there are 64 other versions of my video. So in other words, that many teachers have taken this video and remixed it with their own questions over it and used it with their students, which I thought was really kind of exciting. Should figure out a way to monetize this. But right now, so you can see out here are all the teachers. You can see how many questions they've added, and even audio notes you can add, which I'll talk more about shortly. So the video will pause whenever you get to one of the questions, and these are indicated here. This is this other teacher's view. So this is where the questions are. So you can kind of watch these and see if somebody has already created questions that you're happy with and borrow it. And you could do that with content from any of these tabs. So if I go to YouTube again, for example, I want this video on DNA, genes, and chromosomes. There's over 2,000 video versions on here. There's no real voting mechanism or way of seeing what's quality, what's not. So at least you can click on a few for inspiration as you go to create your own. But there's a lot that you can see that others have done. So here's just a question that another teacher created. If I'm the student viewing this video, when I get to this question, I could respond. Clicking rewatch actually goes back to the previous checkpoint and plays that segment again, and then lets me try to answer that question again. And you can decide if you want to allow students to be able to skip questions or skip forward while watching a video, which is handy. All right, so I was talking about, let's see, ways to get the content. So that's kind of just the navigational piece here. You can, if you were to create your own videos, I said you want to put them on YouTube. Once they're on YouTube, just paste the link into here. And then you can add the questions to it. Otherwise, you can browse all these other resources, choose which one you want, and then in a moment, I'll show you how to add that interactivity over it. All right, let me go back to... All right, so lots of stuff on there already, but you could always bring your own in. So as the teacher, when you're bringing in you've found content or you've uploaded and brought in the link to your own content, then there's 3 tasks you can perform on whichever video it is you want to choose. First, you can cut one. So you can kind of splice it apart if you find a video you like, but maybe you don't need kids to watch all 14 minutes of it. Maybe there's a 3-minute chunk that you really liked and you want to focus your video on. You can actually edit it in this cut mode and splice it to just have the pieces you want. So that's really nice. The second thing you can do to a video is replace the video audio with a voiceover that you could record in Edpuzzle. So maybe the visual side of things worked for you, but you didn't love the way the teacher or whoever was in the video was explaining it. You can record your own voice, but keep the video side of things, and it'll merge those two together. So it's a good compromise between, of control, sort of like being able to present things in your manner while not having to create everything from scratch. Then the last thing you can do is add questions or notes. There's two types of questions, multiple choice or open-ended. And the notes are not really interactive. You can either put a text note or record an audio note. So when it reaches that point in the video where you've placed the note, the students the video will stop and they'll be able to read or listen to your comment. So you could just kind of pause it and be like, hey, did you notice this? Or think about this as, after you listen to that segment. So you can kind of prompt them for things, but not collect anything from them with a note. So I'll show you real quick. I'm going to just keep flip-flopping here. I'll show you real quick what it looks like to do that. Okay. So I'm not going to do a math video. We'll grab this video here. So this is something that another teacher has created. Actually, please forgive me. I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to find. I wanted to make one from scratch. Okay. So here's the video. There's nothing on this video yet, no questions. You would see those little bubbles around the timeline here. I could pull up somebody's version if I wanted to, but let's say I didn't. If I go to edit, this is where I have my three options I was just talking about: cut, voiceover, and questions. So I could have students focus on just on a small portion here. And you can kind of drag from both sides. I could replace the audio with my own. Or I can add questions. So if you can kind of drag or wherever the timeline marker is in playing the video, that's where you can add that content. So I could do a multiple choice question. And you can add more options if you'd like. You can select which is an acceptable option. You could have more than one acceptable option or correct option. And then you would save that question. Okay, and you'll see there's a new marker at that point in the timeline in the video, so that you know where that is. You can come back to that at a later time. I can add an open-ended question, which gives students a text box to respond to. It doesn't validate that response. It doesn't tell them if it's correct or not, but you as the teacher could then see what they've submitted and at least see their thought process. So you could ask students to explain their thinking or to elaborate on an idea or something, and you would then have that. I suppose you could always share that in some way with students later on. And that note feature I mentioned, you can do a text note here, or you can click this microphone right here and record an audio note for students to listen to. And that saves it wherever that marker was in the video timeline. Okay, so when you're done adding questions, and you can add as many of these things as you wish, you hit finish. This does save after you make some sort of edit, which is nice. You don't have to worry about losing your work. Then you have your finished video with the content you've added over it. You could see that it's there. And at this point, you're about ready to share. And that could look like a few different things. So let me hop back over real quick. And again, interrupt me if there's anything that is not clear or anything you'd like to know. I'll do my best to answer. So you've found your video, you've added interactive content over it. Now you need to get it to your kids. At this point, nobody can see it yet except you. In that previous screen, there was an assign button kind of to the right of the video. And if you click assign, it brings up a menu like this where you can choose the class you want to assign it to. If you have more than one class, maybe you have it organized by period or by, I don't know, however else you might want to do that. You can assign it to one or multiple classes. You can decide when the video becomes available, when it's due. And here's where you have that option to toggle on prevent skipping or not. So if you really want to lock it down a little more and disable the ability for students to fast forward or skip questions, you could do that. And you can turn on or off closed captioning by default as well. And that'll sort of use the automated YouTube type closed captioning feature. So if you have students who would benefit from that or with hearing impairments and things like that, you're always welcome to turn that on. Public links, I don't think I have a slide showing that here, but the public link option, there's one to share your video with colleagues. It's what it provides you, not really to share it with kids. But the other thing that is in there is the ability to embed a video into an LMS, a learning management system like Schoology. So you could potentially grab the embed code, and when you're creating an assignment in Schoology, flip it over to HTML editing view and paste it in. Honestly, I think it's a little simpler to just direct kids to your Edpuzzle class and have them log in and just complete the activities on there. But if you're curious about how to do that embedding, let me know and I'm happy to follow up with you on that. And then as students begin to sign in and complete your videos, they'll show up in this class list. And I'll go back to our Edpuzzle screen in a minute. But when you go to My Classes, choose the class you want to look at. Your students show up in the list as they're working. It shows how much of the video they've watched. It shows their success rate with the questions you've embedded in your video. And it tells you whether or not they've turned it in and when they last accessed that video. So you get a little bit of data there and you can kind of see how kids are doing. When you click into a student, especially if you're using the classic mode where it has where students are logging in, or if you're using Google Classroom, you can dig a little deeper into each student and see how they're performing on each of the videos you've assigned them. So this is in the open mode with that test class I was showing you before. That's kind of it. It makes a lot more sense once you play around a bit. I think where some people might run into issues is if they want to create more of their own content and bring that in. If they're not used to doing that, that could present some hurdles. But the tool itself, I think, is fairly easy to use once you play around a little bit. When you are clear on kind of where the different content lives, and then how you go to edit it, I think from there it becomes pretty manageable. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see or any questions you have. There's something I was going to show real quick in here. So I was seeing my student progress when I clicked My Classes in the top corner here. Here are the two classes I have set up. Here are my assignments. So it looks like nobody took that sample link I gave and joined with a nickname. If you did and started watching the video, you would have seen your name pop up here in the progress for that video. So here's what it looks like when you click into a student to see their progress. I apologize, I don't have any real student data to show you on this right now. There is also the ability, and I haven't played with this yet, but the ability to have students watch a video live. So if you were doing a live session with a class, I think the kids would get onto Edpuzzle, and I think it would prompt them to answer the questions kind of all at the same time. So it's sort of a group watching and answering experience. I haven't tried it yet, but if you do, let me know how it goes for you. I'd love to know if it's effective. But you could do a screen share and then have kids get into the class on Edpuzzle. and it sort of takes over their screen. Okay, so at this point, are there any questions or anything anybody would like to know about this tool or see done?
Jared, you made yours look really, really fun with having your emoji in there, this Spanish one. How did you do that? How did you?
Yeah.
Was that creating your own brand new?
As you guys know, I like putting my face on random things. These videos were made using a tool called Powtoon, which was like an animated video maker, POWTOON.com. There is a discounted education version. I don't think the free version gets you very far. I did pay for this back when I was teaching. I don't think it was terribly expensive though, and I got a lot of mileage out of it. So yeah, this was Powtoon.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Jared, I have a question.
Sure.
How easy is it to import something from YouTube?
Yeah, so again, you can do it from this popular channel's YouTube link right here.
Okay, it just pops right up.
Yeah, and like not everything was showing up when I was searching. But let's say I wanted 3 hours of amazing nature scenery. I could paste a YouTube URL in, and it'll bring it in. So that's an easy way to do it as well.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, and then it takes you right to that edit mode where you could do those 3 different tasks. Anything else? Is anybody thinking they might find some use for this tool with their students? Cool. If anybody is interested in and you're not comfortable making your own videos and wanting to add some of this interactivity over it, and you're not sure how to do that, just let me know, and I'm happy to do another one of these on that topic or anything else that comes up.
Hey Jared, how does it look to a student if they're in Google Classroom?
Oh, that's a great question. I think initially it won't look like much when you assign it. I think it kind of shows up as like an attachment to the assignment. And
it just takes them right to Edpuzzle?
It'll take them to Edpuzzle, and it should have them signed in already, I think. That's one that I was going to test out earlier. That's relatively new, that integration. I was going to try it out, but I didn't want to confuse anybody in my library classroom. If anybody wants to try that out, I have a test class in Google Classroom, and I can add you and we can play around with that.
Thanks.
Just shoot me an email and we can try that out. But I think the nice thing is the auto rostering, so they don't have to join with a code. I think the assigning through it is kind of a bonus. Yeah. Tanya, I'll add you anyway to that test class, and we could try it out. Or any other elementary people who want to see what that's like, I'll put you in there. Cool. Well, I'll let everybody go then if there's no other questions. I know everybody's doing a million things. This will be archived on the staff resources page. I'll send out a survey asking for your thoughts for anything for next week. And yeah, I hope it was helpful. Let me know if you encounter any weird issues.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you, guys. It was nice seeing you. Hope everything's going okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jared.
All right. Take care, guys.